Blast Gaming presents its biggest job whatever. Blast Mystery Progressive. I'm so excited, I can't hide it. In your blast up and rising, and I like it. It going up and up and up and up and up. Blast up and up and up and up and up and up.
Play selected games to win in the Blast Mystery Progressive. Pick until you match 3 gems and win one of the 5 cash jackpots. Or you can blast up with the Mystery Progressive jackpot.
It going up and up and up and up and up. Blast up and up and up. Blast Gaming.
NCCU, you don't want to be no slave. NCCU, you need a loan you want to save. NCCU, welcome and visitors today. Hey, with a commitment to quality. What? Therefore you and me was one big family, but now it's a community. True, making life easy. Yes, like ABC. Don't matter who you are, you can benefit when you bring your mortgage.
With rates as low as 5% and loans for all your needs.
Open an MRA.
Save for your golden years and take advantage of our savings products.
We will finance your business.
Checking accounts, small business loans, wire transfers, and so much more.
NCCU all the way. Wow!
Your community financial partner.
NCCU.
Hello, my name is Marilys Rock, founder of Homebase Limited. Better known these days as the Tile Lady in Dominica. We are tile importers from various countries such as Italy, Brazil, Mexico, and China. We've been in the market for the past 18 years, and we've grown to be the #1 tile company in Dominica. I'd love to get it across that it's not just buying a tile because that's the amount of money you have left from the building. Tiles are the things used most in the house, and it's an investment you're putting your money into that should last you hopefully no less than 20 years. Our staff are well trained. The length of time they've been working in Homebase, some as much as 15 years. They have acquired knowledge which the ordinary person would not give an eye to, as to the texture of the tile, the warmth of the tile, the size of the tile, and the areas it's most suited for. Our main store is at 94 Independence Street, Roseau, and our warehouse is at Kinfley Industrial Site.
Caribe Hard Cider. Moments made extraordinary.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. It's Monday. God, it's Monday. Please, Monday should be a weekend. Why does Monday have to be the start of the week? It's Monday, guys. So glad to have you guys join me. Come on down. The bell has rung. It's time for the class to begin. Oh, I feel like I overdid my list. What is going on here? Okay, looking good. All right, guys. Welcome to the show. My name is Jael Joseph, and thank you so very much for joining me wherever you're tuned in. It's so good to have you here. It's another beautiful day. At least it's daytime somewhere. It might be nighttime here, but it's daytime somewhere. It's still a beautiful day. And I'm so happy that you guys could join me for another exciting show, exclusive interview. We're going to be talking to the ladies of the Relatable Podcast. Bless 3 bad gals that came through to Dominica, and I'm so excited to have them on. Oh, y'all share the live. Y'all should know, by now, when I pop in, you need to start to share the live, right? Once you see me come on, share the live, get folks in. I want to say good evening to the folks on Facebook. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us. Those of you on YouTube and those of you on LinkedIn, bonsoir, good day, good morning, wherever you are. It's good to have you joining us here for another exciting show. I want to say thank you very much to my sponsors. Without them, this would not be possible because the girlfriend got to pay the bills, right? The bills got to get paid. show. I want to big up the NCCU, the National Cooperative Credit Union, of course, our community financial partner. I want to say a special thank you to Caribe. You know, if I ain't drinking tequila, I'm drinking Caribe. That's a period first. I also want to say thank you very much to Dominican National Lottery. That is the Blast Mystery Progressive. That's a brand new game, so make sure you check them out. And of course, I also want to say to my Thai lady, Miss Rock, big up to you. Thank you very much, Miss Rock, for your support. I want to say big up to the folks out there at Home Base Limited, where you can get all your exquisite tiles, they tile in anywhere in the home. They can tile the ceiling, they can tile the floors, anywhere you need to get tiles. Get it at Home Base Limited. Big up to every single folk on here, whether you're locked in from Dominica, you're locked in from Grenada, you're locked in from St. Lucia, those of you from Antigua. I want to big up my Nevis folks, because you know we got I don't know if they call themselves Nevisian. Is that Nevisian? Oh, yes, it is Nevisian. Yeah. We have somebody from Nevis in the house. Big up my Kititians. Big up my Caribbean people. If you're from the Caribbean, let me know where you're locked in from. You know, I always like to shout you out. Even if we start the show, we talking, I'll go back and I'll shout you out. You know how we do. We keep it very engaging here, and I am so glad to get this show on the road. Again, apologies for the late start. You know, technology is technology in, and I heard that it's something to do with Mercury and communications, and Chantal was giving me a whole schooling on I didn't know. I mean, I'm spiritual just in my spirit. You know, that's about it. Right? And she was like telling me I've got contract to sign. Don't sign a contract. I almost signed a contract and I was like, what? I'm so glad I did not sign that contract, because the contract might be contracting if I did it now. And I am so glad I didn't do that. But that's what happens when you're working on the internet, when you're online, things happen, and sometimes technology is not on our side, right? And today it was just one of those days. Big up to you from Barbados. Hi, Cheryl Reed. Thank you very much for joining. I tell you, everybody on tonight, and we're getting ready to talk. We have a packed show here tonight. We're gonna be going all over the place. All right, we all over the place with the conversation, because I absolutely love these three women. They have one of the most amazing podcasts, and if you are not registered, subscribed, following, tuned in, connecting, you need to follow them. When it comes to history, culture, mele melage, everything in one, you can get it. It's the podcast that you can relate to. That's what it is, right? That's why it's called the Relatable Podcast. Right. Good evening from NYC. Yes, Antigua. Thank you, Lucien, for joining us. Big up yourself, and make sure you share it live. Don't let me come and give all you two tap fee and all you head. Share it live one time. Yes, let somebody know that you're on. Tag a friend, tag someone, and get them in on the conversation. We're gonna get the show started. Set a mouthful, because you know we're late, so we have to rush to get the guests on and all of them things. You know when you're late and you know you have plenty of power and you want to make sure you get everything in. It's one of those days. So we're gonna welcome the ladies for the very first time on the Jael Joseph Live show. So they're coming in one at a time, and we're just gonna say hello, and we're gonna they'll tell us where they locked in from, or they logged on from, and you know we're just gonna keep it nice, and we're gonna keep it casual. Sometimes we'll get serious, because I feel like some of the topics that we're gonna talk about are going to be serious conversations. So backstory, just in case y'all didn't know, these ladies, so first of all, Sherwin and Fiona came to Dominica, I believe it was last year for what? And they came back this year, and they brought Chantal with them, right? She called herself Shani, so we calling her Shani right now. They brought her on with them, but she's also part of the Relatable Podcast. And if you guys follow Know Your Caribbean, like every Black person needs to do, you probably know Fiona. Once you're from the Caribbean, you need to follow Know Your Caribbean, because I've learned so much just viewing this. I've actually there were a lot of aha moments. There were a lot of, and that's really essentially how I got to know Fiona and Sherwin, because Sherwin shows up now and again in different things on Know Your Caribbean. And then they started this podcast, and Chantal will tell us how all of them met and how they came together, and talk a little bit about the podcast. But I am so excited to hear about the experience in Dominica. Yes, you know your girlfriend does always give you all the reviews, and we does give it hot heavy, we does give it hot soft, we does give it all, and we does leave nothing on the table, right? Y'all know, because y'all tune in every time I go to an event. 400 of you sit waiting for me to give you my review. So they're gonna be reviewing today their experience in Dominica during water. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about that. So miniature tourism, logging in right now, just letting y'all know that it's about to go down. So let's welcome first man on deck, Aishanta.
I was praying. I'm like, don't call me first. Don't call me first.
You come first. You come first. I have to call you first.
Oh gosh. Hello, my love. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you for having me and us actually. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Yeah.
Where are you? Where are you now situated? Where are you?
Where am I right now? I'm in
Now?
Queen City, Nevis. That's where I am. That's
Nevis.
right. That's right.
It's good to have you on here with us,
Thank you.
and I'm so excited for us to chat.
Yes.
Yes, and then
Yes.
we're gonna welcome next on board, next man on deck. Let's say hi to Sherwin.
Hi,
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Let me just fix that camera. Yep.
Yes,
There we
I
go.
love those earrings.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. They meant that.
Let me tell all you something. All you and them hashi, them hashi, them kutla. Kile zokai hashi. Kile zokai.
Well. Try it and you'll see.
We going to hashi them tonight and see your fashion. You can even kwashi. Whereabouts are you logged in with us tonight?
I'm in Saint Lucia. I'm in up north, Bonte, Saint Lucia, Sakafet.
Is that our sister island, St. Lucia? So thank you so very much for joining us. And last but by no means least, Fiona is joining us. What up, Fiona?
I'm gonna hide it.
You gonna hide the ginger roots herself.
Yeah.
How are you,
How are
my
you?
dear? I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Very happy to be here.
Nice to have you. It's excited to have you. I know a lot of folks follow you because that's what I kind of mentioned that they follow you and the amount of history that you share with us about who we are as
Mhm.
people. It's so important what you're doing. All of you, your work is so super, super important. But I just want to say thank you before I forget because sometimes we just get greedy and we just get all in
Yeah.
our feelings and just thank you for opening us and enlightening us a lot, and it's not a little bit, no, it's a lot. It comes in small
Mhm.
doses, but it really has a huge impact on a lot of our lives, as Caribbean women, as
Yeah.
Caribbean people, and we appreciate that.
Well, I will say, and I say this to a lot of people all the time, like when people say thank you, just know I'm learning at the same time. It's not like I am this like long time historian who knows everything about the Caribbean. So a lot of times when you see me share something, it's because I just found out too. So that aha moment, I am having the aha moment with you too. So it's not like um I am this, most knowledgeable person. I'm on this learning journey alongside everybody else. So
Yes,
I'm there with you.
it's good to have all three of you on here with me, and folks are coming in and they're saying hi, and it's so great to have all of you. I want to kind of get this show started first of all by asking, how did you guys meet? And
Oh,
and
dear.
and Chantel laughs. How did you? Because a lot of times you end up, because I used to do a show with two other women as well, right? And we met in the weirdest of ways. And it's always so interesting how people um who have podcasts, like women who have podcasts, like I listen to like Media Girlfriends and all of their stories being how they met. I'm interested to know how, and Showing seemed like she wanted to tell me. She ready to tell me.
Me.
Yes. Yes.
I picked the right person, right, Chantal?
You
Yes.
did. You
Showing.
Exactly.
definitely did.
Well, how I met Fiona, I shouted after her. I was shouting at her. I tell her, "Oi, what are you doing?" At her, I was being very rude to her at a food
Okay, wait,
festival.
hold on. I need to interject, okay? I was
Oh wow.
I
innocently
Oh wow.
please,
filming
You were doing
something. You
it.
see,
Okay.
like how, like we were in literally a version of Watu. We were at a food festival, and I was innocently filming the solution stand with my little Bregaden camera. And then all of a sudden, I had this bespectacled woman just comes to me and says, "Excuse me, can I be filming here without permission?"
I
Okay?
you put in my image. I don't know what you're doing with it. So I'm like, hey, you have permission to do that? What are you
Not
doing?
her image, huh? It because she was working with the St. Lucia Tourist Board. Okay? So she's the St. Lucia Tourist
Well,
Board gatekeeper, right?
Ha! Ha! And she put you in your place.
Yeah,
hard.
hard. Hard.
How did that
Okay?
change though? How did it change from this this
No,
I mean they always say first impression is lasting impression, but it didn't seem like that was the lasting impression. It seemed like y'all developed a friendship. Like I see, those of us we on the outside and we think we know everything. We watch it and we see like I think y'all are like besties. Like in my head, Sherwin and Fiona are like besties. Like
They,
yeah, we're like sisters.
they
All
are.
three of us, all three of
Yeah.
us. We like inseparable when we're together.
You know how we became friends? Showing felt sorry for me. What
No.
how
you
did
know,
y'all become friends
after
for?
Kind of.
I
I,
was going for a rough
this is
time
what
and she
happens
felt sorry
all the
for
time.
me.
She was rough patching. She was rough patching with Gerard.
So I was going through some hard
Gerard
times
was
in Las
young.
Vegas. So,
He was young, a year
yeah.
old or something, less than a year old or something like that.
We
And
met in the UK.
Mhm.
And yes, I was a young mother, first time mother, and I was struggling a lot.
Mm.
And Shaween has a very strong maternal part of her, as a mother of three. And I think she felt compassion for me. So she got over the vexation and was very quickly.
I was like, you see, just come,
Um,
give me the child, give me the damn child, give me the child, let's go, let's do this. You'll be
yes,
fine, you'll be fine.
yes. And
Literally,
then there was a
basically.
moment when I was really like my son wouldn't stop crying. And I don't know, I was on the verge of a meltdown, and she pulled me outside, and then she came to help me. And I think that's what really started to solidify, the friendship.
Yeah.
And how did Chantal? Because she from I mean, yo, it is very easy to say. It's very easy when you two people from the same island,
Right.
regardless if you know each other or not, because you might not know each other, but you might know somebody in the family or whatnot. But just the fact that you're from the same island, you automatically feel a sense of like, oh my God, this is like home. This is my people. But
Right.
then here comes in this girl from Nevis. How did
Right.
she end up? How did you end up in the picture,
How,
Chantal?
I still don't know. No. We were all living in London at the time, and this is like early 2000s. I had just moved back to the UK in 2002. So I was very much in a space of, even though I was born in the UK, I was born up north. So I'm not from London. So when I moved to London as an adult, I had no friends, no family, no nothing, right? And I was just kind of finding my way, finding myself. And at the time, I think this is like maybe mid 2000s, maybe, I can't even remember. I had started to do a lot of events to amplify the voices of Caribbean people in London. And it was in the days of Facebook. So, this is like a long time, right? And
The
Fiona's
early stages of Facebook.
like early days Facebook. And Fiona's partner at the time slid into my DMs. Da, da, da. look
Not
at
in
her,
not
In
in the
a
way you
good
think.
way.
look at her
Not
face.
in the way you
She
think.
slid into my DMs. And this is what he said. He said, "Hey, Chantal, I really love the work that you're doing. And I think you have a lot in common with my girlfriend, and that you guys would really get on." That is what her partner did,
Oh,
right?
that's wonderful.
How cute is that? Right? And then she sent me a link to something that they were working on at the time. I think it was a series, a cooking
Country
series.
kitchen.
Yeah, Country Kitchen. And he said, "Have a look at this. Tell me what you think. But I really think you guys have a lot in common." And so that was really beautiful. But Fiona and I think it took another year or two for us to actually connect. And then we started to see each other more. Fiona was doing some filming at the St. Lucia High Commission for a creative event that I'd been invited to. And then
Women's Day.
she tagged me on Facebook. And I was like, oh, this is this person's partner that he was telling me about. So then we just started like a, social media friendship. And then I invited Fiona to be a part of a photography event, Caribbean Storytellers, that I was curating. And we were both so excited. We're like, yay, we're finally going to get to meet in person and da 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 da. And then I think it was Jariah, Fiona's son, got really ill and she couldn't make it to the event. And she was so distraught and trying to find a way. Maybe you can Zoom me in. This is early days Zoom, eh? So I was like, I don't know about that.
I am forever hopeful.
And she was, and that is Fiona, ever hopeful, ever the optimist. And it just didn't work out then, but organically things happened and we connected in real life. And flash forward many years after that, we ended up living together in London for a period.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That is wonderful. You know, there's people say, okay, it's hard to become good friends when you're an adult, especially black women. Like they always tend to say, oh, it's so hard to become good friends or build really great relationships when you're an adult. But you guys have definitely you're showing us that that is not the case. You know, like it's about the amount of time that you're willing to put and the amount of effort. And if you guys have similarities, which you clearly have, and not just similarities, but you're also the contrast is also very nice. You know, like y'all bring different things to the table and it just works. You know, somebody's the quirky one, the like Fiona is a very optimistic one. You know, like y'all have different personalities. It just work. So why did you guys decide that you were doing the relatable podcast? I don't know who wants.
This is Sherwee's baby, so she can
I
tell
was
you.
about to say this is
Why?
Showing's one.
Why? Um, we used to talk a lot during the pandemic. At the start, when lockdown, all of us living on our own. By now, I'm with my kids. Fiona with her son alone. Chantal living alone. So we spoke all day, every day. What else to do?
Wow.
And then, but we were going through. All of us were going through our own struggles. Of course, the pandemic, but other little things. So we kept talking about things, and then I say, you know what? Why don't we do a podcast? I'm sure we're not the only ones going through this. And maybe it might resonate with some people. Maybe people that are actually going through it as well. You might say, oh my God, maybe we could help somebody, even though it's one person, even though it's just to laugh, because we just talk a lot of shit, eh? A lot of shit. We just talk shit.
How
We
dare you,
laugh a lot.
Showing?
Huh?
So how dare
Yes,
you?
sir.
No, we don't.
We laugh a lot. Sometimes we cry a lot. And it's never really gossip or anything. It's never gossip. We're just talking about life, things that affects us, things we're going through, how to deal with it. And I say, guys, so let me start a podcast because I think it will resonate with people. And then we did, and we did. It was literally a WhatsApp group chat. And I think we need WhatsApp to come on board and sponsor us because we keep telling people that it's a WhatsApp group chat, and it just took off. We
Yes.
did not think it. Of course, we would have loved it. We loved that it's taken off, but we didn't think that it would have gotten as far and wide as it did in such a short period of time.
Wow, you guys are definitely amazing. And I want to, at this time, I kind of just want you guys to kind of introduce the audience to your individual backgrounds because you have such a rich background. Like, y'all have such a rich, like showing you've done a million and a gazillion things. Like,
Too much.
I
Too
was
much.
reading,
That's why I'm
I
tired.
read, I read your bio and I did, because like I am a journalist first. So obviously I'm going to dig. Right. So I'm like, let me dig. You know, the bio says this. Let me see this. And then you end up, you see this, and then you see this, and then you see. And before you know it, you're like, but all are not on the bio. Like, so
No,
many
honey, yeah,
things.
that's a short in the very short version.
Yes. So just showing so that you have the floor. Tell us a little bit about your background because again we're going to talk first, we're going to talk about Watto, but then we're going to talk a little bit about the Caribbean, the history, the culture, and all of the things that intersect with us being black women in the Caribbean. You see I wear my Black Island Girl shirt and all, so we're going to talk
Yes,
a little bit
man.
about that. But I kind of want people, because people on the outside, they'll be like, they might say about what they know about that and what they know, so we kind of, I like to dispel anything early o'clock before people be like, so how they know this now? Where they get the information from? So let's kind of give people a little bit of background on like your individual, your personal background. Like, what is your like? What do you do, and what's your passion? Like, how about that?
Okay. All right. Well, um, so pre the UK, I just worked in hotels. Like most of us down here start off in hotels in the Caribbean. And then when went up to the UK, I studied travel and tourism. And so I went to work with St. Lucia Tourist Board for a long time. But whilst doing that, my husband and I, my ex-husband, sorry, and we founded a film production company. So I was the director of a film production company called Blackstone Valentine Films, and we did lots and lots. We did lots of films for tourist boards. We did fiction films, short films, documentaries, all sorts. You name it. We did the whole lot. And then, of course, life happens. My husband and I divorced, and I decided, you know what, burn that. I coming out of that, and did a complete U-turn, and I became a business and economics lecturer. So I'm a fully qualified business and economics lecturer. Yes. um, and in between that, I did other things like I'm an entrepreneur. I make my own products, hair products, skin care products. I do all of that. Now I sell salts, Himalayan pink salts across the Caribbean.
You
What else am I
do.
doing?
Yes, she
Guys,
does.
help
You see
me.
all that. You see all that on the bio. That's why I said
What else? What else? What else? I do lots of other things, trying a thing with
yes,
Fiona.
yes,
So many things. Island Girls Rock representative in St. Lucia coming soon. Yes.
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 So many things, so many other hats. Yeah. But my main thing right now is relatable podcast. I also do some tutoring, but I'm trying to phase out of it. I want to do just our media things and do what I love. I love creating the content. I love doing and trying to find my love for cooking again, and that's why China thing is so important to me because it's bringing me back to cooking. I hated cooking, but now I want to love cooking as an adult. So lots of different things. There's
I
not
like to eat.
I wear many hats.
I see food and eat.
Yes, that too.
Yes. Okay. And Fiona, I leave Chantal for last because I have a reason why I leave in her for last. Because we are very like our background is very very similar, and I'm going to surprise her in a little bit. If she was probably proactive like me and did her research, she probably know where I'm going to go with that. But if wasn't as proactive as me, look at
Hey, Chantal.
Fiona, tell us a little bit about your background and your background and your passion.
Okay. Well, yeah, I born and raised in St. Lucia, and I left St. Lucia when just before my 17th birthday, and I lived in Venezuela for a year. So that was very eye-opening for me because I went to learn Spanish. I knew very little Spanish, so I was thrown into the deep end. And that was before the times of like internet was a thing. So you still had to go in the phone booth with the phone card to call anybody, write to your friends, post letters and stuff like that. And so I went to school having to do things like physics and chemistry and everything in Spanish. So I was just thrown completely into the deep end. But also, I was one of the only Black people in the city. And the city was about 800,000 people. And it was a very different as I didn't have nowhere to do my hair. I couldn't get no hair products. I like didn't understand my hair. Like I had relaxer, the relaxer grew out and it's growth factor human. So it was a huge learning curve for me because language, barrier, cultural barrier into where the city I lived in was very conservative. So when it's hot, when pum pum shots, so there's a lot of things that I had to learn how and like I was only 17, I was living with a host family. They did not speak English. So you really I mean, I recommend if you want to learn a language just the way, but the problem is with the internet now, you can just WhatsApp your friends and you end up falling into the bad habit of speaking English. But I didn't have that luxury.
Mhm.
And I remember being violently homesick. Oh, the first 3 months was really tough.
Mm.
And then after 6 months, like I started thinking Spanish, dreaming Spanish. I stopped missing Saint Lucia. I stopped, and I came to love the culture so much. And I think that's what made it really wide open for me. And that's where I started to have a love for photography and arts and all of those things. So afterwards, I moved to the UK. I studied art. I studied photography. I said I'm going to be this great photographer, whatever, or artist, or whatever. And when you graduate, as many of us do, graduate university and you get a taste of the real world, and you're not going to get that big time job if you're going to get just because you have your degree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's what happened. And I did crappy job to crappy job until I got an alright job, and then an alright job, and then I was doing my photography for a while with one of the largest media houses in the UK, and it allowed me to travel to Europe on this kind of thing like that. But one of the things I will say is, whilst I was doing my photography, especially during my degree, that was really important because there was no representation of Caribbean culture in my degree, and I went to like a really progressive art school, and they only had African photographers and like maybe one or two Jamaican photographers represented in my curriculum. And I'm like, nah. And the more I try to push and say, where are the Caribbean voices? Where's our representation? I was just brutally ignored. So I left my degree course annoyed. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what happens. So in my creative practice, and that's another thing that connected me to Sherwin and Chantal as well, because they were on the same page as me. We want to give our people our own voice. Let me talk about people from Nevis. Let me talk about Lucians. Let me talk about Dominicans. Like, we love our Jamaican family, but Jamaica is
That's not
one
represented
part of the
Caribbean.
Caribbean. It's not the entire Caribbean. We can talk about all without diminishing the other. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started to incorporate Caribbean history and culture into my photography. And then I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. But I didn't know that. And then it just became a rabbit hole of that. And um, I got made redundant from my job, all these kind of things. And that is what propelled me into the journey of New York Caribbean, and then finding more and more like-minded people. I'm not the only one who feels that way. And I think the growth of the platform shows, I always say, is people think we don't care, especially the younger generation. People think our generation doesn't care about our own history, our own culture. That's not true. It's just how it is told. And I think there is this kind of classism, a type of barrier with academia that we aren't allowed, or you're supposed to speak a certain way. I speak like in my Caribbean vernacular on purpose on
Mm-hmm.
Noya Caribbean, because we should respect our accents, our languages. And the more I do it, the more I'm seeing the growth of it. So when you talk about, like, lots of people follow Noya Caribbean, I don't think of it as me. I think of it as the community, because the power of the platform is in the comments. The power of the platform is people educating me by the things they send to me. So it's not New York Caribbean is not Fiona. New York Caribbean is all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really inspiring to see like its growth, and that's because it's growing because of our love of each other. And that's what it is. So that's my journey.
Fantastic. This is wonderful. Oh my God. And last but by no means least, of course, Chantal. I
Hi.
mean, I left you for last. And there's a reason why I left you for last. But tell us a little bit about your background and your passion.
Whew. Oh gosh. Okay. So my background, I am of Nigerian and Jamaican heritage. So my biological father is Jamaican, and I very much love my Jamaican side. However, for the majority of my life, I have very much been immersed in Nevis and Nigerian culture. I was born in the UK in a very Jamaican city, Manchester. A lot of Jamaicans in the Windrush generation went to Manchester because there's a Manchester in Jamaica. So that's all a part of their history as well. And I grew up a very curious child, always asking questions. I told my mom when I was 9 that I was going to be a war correspondent, and she shut that down with a quickness. This, I think it was around the times of the Falklands War. I feel like it was around that time. And I don't know. I just thought the war correspondents were so brave, like they're in the midst of this conflict and telling us, keeping us updated on what's happening. And I just
You
thought,
are an adrenaline junkie. Just admit it.
I don't, I thought it was very noble. And I think I had just come off of reading I was reading some A-level book when I was 9 about war and a war torn. And I was reading, oh my God, Jeffrey Archer, Cain and Abel. Yeah, I know. And I just thought, I want to talk about war. Anyway, my mother shut that down very quickly. She was like, no, choose something else to tell your stories about. Okay? My child is not going into war torn conflict, dense countries. But that didn't squelch my curiosity. And so I think in school, I very much naturally kind of gravitated in school in England towards drama and the arts. And once I told my stepdad that he had to propose to my mother, I'm like, yeah, it's time. And we then moved to Nevis because she said yes. I was just such a happy 11-year-old because I've been to Nevis as a child. I'd spent time with my great grandmother, my great grandparents on both sides, and to be there with them because they were still very much alive, and to find out, like, my uncle was the founder of our carnival, which is called Culturama, and the Nevis Dramatic and Cultural Society, and me going to practices and sitting down and just watching these adults do these amazing things and tell these stories. I think it just very naturally happened that I grew up and then went on to study film and media, so that is what I think the three of us have in common, very much so, that we are storytellers. We are
Yes.
storytellers, you know. And I don't know, I just then became like I sit on the intersection of community building, creativity, and wellness. And all of these things happened at different points in my life to now kind of merge into where I am right now. I spent many years in London being a community builder for a third space. And when I came back to Nevis, and it's still something that I very much want to establish in Nevis, is a third space and what that offers our community at large. I'm still very much a storyteller. I produce podcasts, I host podcasts. One of the first podcasts that I hosted was the Island Girls Rock podcast. And Island Girls Rock is a nonprofit that I founded in London in 2016 with a group of my friends. And I'd always spoken about, I want to do this thing called Island Girls Rock to amplify, the voices of girls and women in the Caribbean and its diaspora. Talk. So the tropical storm Erica happened in Dominica. And there were these groups of young people in London doing these amazing events to assist with the relief effort for Dominica. And I got in touch with them and I said, how can I help you? How can I support you? And they were like, just do an event, Chantal, just do an event. And I was like, okay. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to bring together a group of Dominican filmmakers and dancers and spoken word artists and have a beautiful brunch. I'm going to quickly print some T-shirts so that, my friends and I can be easily identified. They're going to go to this space in Shoreditch because typically Caribbean events aren't held in Shoreditch. So I want to disrupt that. I'm a disruptor. We're going there. We're going right down there with the cool kids because we cool too. And so we had this brunch, screened, I think it was 2 films from Dominican filmmakers. We had Nakel Latouche dancing and also doing spoken word. And it was just beautiful. And halfway through, people were like, okay, so when's the next one? I'm like, what? This is a soft launch. I don't have no strategy. I don't have those things together yet. Like, hello. So that is when Island Girls Rock was born. And at the same time, I had spent, I think, 5 years curating a Caribbean film festival as part of the Portobello Film Festival. So this was called Caribbean Corner. And so every year we had, we screened films from around the Caribbean and the diaspora. So I started to build this network of Caribbean filmmakers. And so once that ended on its sixth year, because we just couldn't get at the time, and I remember Fiona we went to a meeting together. Oh Lord of mercy, we couldn't get.
Yeah, I know which one.
You know which one, right? We couldn't
Mhm.
big time funding for this film festival, even though year after year you can see the growth, right? Um, and so we went to the BFI. I'm going to say it. We went to the BFI because they have this huge fund, and we sat down with this gentleman and we're like, look, this is what we want to do. Da, da, da. And he was like, no one's interested in Caribbean films. And Fiona
The
and
man is from the Caribbean,
he's
may
from the
I add.
Caribbean heritage, a very well known publicist, PR person, marketeer. And at the time, he was working with the BFI. And he said to us, ain't nobody interested in Caribbean stories. And Fiona and I were just like, what? And by this point, Storm Salter had already had Better Must Come picked up by Ava DuVernay's distribution company called Array at the time. And it was on Netflix. And I'm like, dude, Netflix is interested in Caribbean stories. What are you talking about?
Insane.
Like, dude, and that wasn't the first and only film at the time. Even Savannah, who a lot of people know now as a singer, she had been making films, and we had screened. She had a beautiful film series that Island Girls Rock had already screened, and we were like, dude, what? So this is what the three of us were up against in London.
Wow.
But we stuck it out, and we
Yep.
definitely helped to bring Caribbean stories to London in a plethora of ways, in many, many ways. So it's not just, film, it's not just photography, it's, as Fiona and Shireen have mentioned, food. And we built our networks. And I'm going to say this, none of us are there anymore, but we definitely made a significant contribution to amplifying the voices of Caribbean storytellers and culture so that it's not just monolithic, it's not just centered on Notting Hill Carnival, which we love and respect, but we are more
More
than that.
than that.
We are multi-layered the same way everyone else is. And I think that we did good, Shireen and Fiona, in our different ways and
I
collectively.
think we did too.
I
I
think we
think we did good too.
Let me give y'all a round of applause. Let's give you all. Yes, yes. So in my discovery, obviously curiosity, I want to figure out, a little bit about who you guys. Well, I've done a little bit of research about with Fiona and showing like earlier clock, like give me probably
yeah.
2 years, 2 years before during the pandemic mostly.
Mm,
I believe it was. But for you, when I started researching you, which is for the show. Well, I met you in Dominica, and
yes.
then immediately after, when I met your manager for related to podcast, Brianna, I started now researching all of you, right? And then it just became like this. I was like, oh my god, like there's so many similarities because in 2014, I started an event called 767 Girls Rock. I know you're going to see what I'm talking about, right?
Mm,
So I started 767 Girls Rock, and let me tell you, I registered every single Facebook account across the Caribbean with the area codes. So you probably will not get um 758 Girls Rock because it's mine. You probably will not get
Is it
yes, I got
you?
all of them. I am the bitch that did
Wow.
it.
Wow. Wow.
I
Wow.
took all of them because I was like, this is going to be a movement. But what happened moving back from Dominica, like after doing two really good shows in Dominica, I moved back to Canada because originally that's where I had my foundation and stuff, and I went back to school, and then I developed Black Island Girl. So that's what the Black Island Girl is the umbrella underneath
yes.
767 Girls Rock, but it's a multimedia aspect of the seventh. So it handles all of the multimedia aspect. And I was shocked that people didn't have BlackIslandGirl.com was available. Black Island Girl, like I was like, but why aren't Island Girls like owning who they are? Like it was just so surprising to me. So when I started researching you and your background in film, which I also have background in film.
I
You know,
know.
I was like, and when you speak about telling stories, I remember when they asked me what am I doing for my masters, and I was like, well, I'm going to go back to Dominica and do a documentary on the Kalinago people, and they're like, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, I'm just gonna go back and I'm just gonna do it. And they were like, well, the research ethic book might have some issues with you telling stories of indigenous people. I'm like, well, all those indigenous people in Dominica, they love me, and they will be just fine because I'm not going to destroy their story. And I went through research ethic board for almost a year. Like they did, it's almost like they did not want me to like put up that story. They kept on finding problems with every single thing. So just hearing you say that this guy said to you, well, nobody wants to listen to a Caribbean story. It's not just those that say no, it's also those that do everything to blockade you. They
Yes.
do everything possible. And it took me
Yep.
a year. I tell you, a year before I could get them to give me the green light, for
Mm.
me to do this documentary. And then I do the documentary and it wins at Caribbean International Film Festival.
Of course.
So it's like obviously people want to hear about Caribbean stories and they love the
Yeah.
stories. So just reading about what the work that you guys have collectively done is so amazing, so inspiring to me. And it shows, I see so many similarities, in our stories and in our journeys being immigrants, being black women, going and coming, going between,
A
the
lot.
different countries, having
Yes.
children, all of these different things. It's so beautiful to see, to know that there are Caribbean women who are so similar, when talking to show and show and say, you know what, my children are there and I'm here. And I'm like, I'm the same, my children are here and I'm here. And it's just we're doing what we need to do to elevate our life, at the same time to be happy, at the same time to give back to our communities. Like all of you are giving back to your communities in such meaningful ways, even though the mosquitoes, the migrants just kill you in coming back.
You're not killing some a while ago.
You're not
When
doing
you
that
see
now and
these
again.
guys, they're busting my ass right now.
Yeah. I was terrorized by one last night.
Right,
Terrorized.
right. But it's amazing to see the work that you guys have done, and I want to congratulate you guys and tell you guys kudos, and continue doing the really, 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 really beautiful work. So you guys come to Dominica, and I'm excited to hear about your experience at Watu. First of all, when Fiona, because I met Fiona when they had the meet and greet, the evening, and Fiona had everybody crying. Lord Jesus, is that what she does? Is that a thing where
Yes.
she has people
Yes.
like everybody was
Yes,
like
yes.
crying, cold running in nose and all kind of thing?
That's what she does. You nailed it. And she doesn't like it when it's done to her.
Yeah.
I was
Everybody was in
No,
tears, right? Because
no, but hey,
because
that's
she
huh?
was speaking about Fiona. Why were you in tears? Why was it so? Why was why has Dominica meant so much to you? I think that's probably the question.
now I have to say at the meet and greet, I couldn't even articulate everything because I would have you start crying so much that you can't talk. Because when I
Mhm,
turn and I couldn't even make eye contact with people like Neander because Neander was crying, and for me to see her
mhm.
move to tears in that way was a lot for me. So I tell her, I said, I can't even watch you because I think not I think I know when you Watto when I came last year, I didn't know what to expect. That was my first time coming to Dominica. Um and then as soon as I got there, I said, why is this my first time coming here? And I felt so at home, so at home. And I think I have such a love and respect for Niana. Niana is the woman behind Watu.
She's on the live right
She's
now.
all
She's
right.
there.
Oh yes. She is so inspirational in terms of being a woman, an executive chef of a resort. She's a leader. She is, when you ask her for something, she makes you feel like there's nothing is impossible. She say no problem. And then she will just go and organize the world for you. And her vision of Watu is extremely heartfelt and is one of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever been to. And I think it because it comes from the heart. I think that's what makes it so important. Like, yes, the food is great and all of those things, but it just comes from the heart. And then when you meet Neanda, she is the most down to earth person who just wants to connect the Caribbean. And how can you not love somebody like that? And how can you not love that vision? So coming to Watto, and then of course Dominica is of course so lush and so green. Yes, they keep saying yeah, the nature isle, but there's not enough words to encompass how beautiful Dominica is. Like the greens are like super green, and the air is like super clean, and just the water and just the like super abundance of rivers and waterfalls. And then when you look at Dominica's history, it's like this is the last country to be colonized, and there's a reason why it has such a power. That land has such a power in it, and you can feel it. If you next time anyone comes to Dominica, just sit and be silent for a minute. If it's by the sea, if it's by Rosalie, one of my favorite places to go to, and just think about Europeans coming there for the first time. And I don't think Dominica was ever conquered. Yes, they have. It was colonized, but I don't think Dominica was ever conquered. It never was. And I think so for so many reasons, it's very emotional. And on that night, even though I was talking, you say I move people to tears. It I still felt like I didn't say enough because I was afraid I was going to start crying because I was crying fast. But it's a very emotional thing when you think about the levels of love that's put into it, and I really did feel it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Showing you came to Dominica last year first.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first time as well?
Yeah.
Because I saw you were enjoying cooking by the river. You were everywhere. What was your because what was your feeling? What did you what I mean? Fiona obviously has her views and stuff on certain things that she experienced, but in terms of the cultural and obviously from your film eye, and just seeing how people are in Dominica. Because people always say everybody feel their island is special, eh? One thing, everybody's island is always special. However, I try sometimes to explain to people, like, yeah, I respect how special your island is, but my island is very special,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
my island is very
It's
special
everything I've
because I,
experienced it.
I can go amongst my people in Dominica, and it doesn't feel like there's a class or a class caste.
Mm-mm.
Everybody just, although there is, but people don't, when you say they don't melee, when you see you out, you lie me. It doesn't matter who you is. You go in a kue, you pass by a rum shop, and sometimes the people
Right.
who have the most money is who you'd find by the rum shop. You know, like pull up by and I try to explain all these different aspects, and even the carnival. Y'all need to y'all. I see y'all jumping up a street
Oh,
jump.
shit.
Not carnival. Not even carnival. And just
I'm
trying to
afraid.
explain to people, and they're like, "Oh, you still love Dominica?" I'm like, "Bruh, I'm not. It's not a matter of love. It's a matter of the feeling you get. When you come to Dominica. What was that like for you, Shirley?
Um, I think the only way I could describe coming to Dominica is everything I said, and we have an episode coming out on it where we speak about it. I said Dominica is everything my soul needed. When I left the UK, I left the UK because I wanted my freedom. I wanted my peace of mind. I wanted to be back in nature. I just wanted, it's for my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Dominica and I was like, shit. Sorry. Because I love my home. I love St. Lucia. St. Lucia for me, I love it. But I went to Dominica and I was just like mind blown. We're not even talking about the beauty. Dominica, to me, like Fiona said, if you just stop, if you're somebody, I'm very spiritual. I am I love nature. I'm afraid of the insects and lots of animals and things, but I love nature. And when I'm in Dominica, I will sit. We were stargazing. That's, I think for me, that's the highlight of my year. We sat
Mm.
outside our villa stargazing, and the amount of shooting stars. When I'm there, I just feel like I am alive. I feel like I could just go anywhere and sit down and just call my ancestors, and they will be there listening. They're like, my child,
Yes.
welcome home. Welcome home. This is what I got from Dominica. I got welcome home, my child. That
Wow.
is
Mm.
it. And I said to me, I said to me, and I said, I stay in. I love Dominica. I love it. I really do. And if I were to resettle on another island, it most likely would be there. Because I
Wow.
just feel like it's everything I want, the peace, the tranquility, the beauty, the nature, the water. Everywhere you look is water. Like, wow, Gasa. I can't bring you to Saint Lucia. I can't. I can't bring a Dominican to Saint Lucia. Where I bring them? What waterfall where? Silver Spring
Don't do
what?
it.
I
Don't
can't
do
do
it,
it.
sir.
I can't bring Dominicans and show off Saint Lucia because guys, y'all have everything. A lake on top of a mountain in the clouds. Like why?
Yes.
Where?
Where?
Like really? So to me, being in Dominica, just yeah, I feel alive when I'm there. I feel like I'm connecting to my ancestors. I feel like um this is where I need to be. So watch out. I might come
Yes.
back.
Yes. I love that. I love that. I love what you say. All of the things. I mean, obviously, I'm a Dominican, so I'll have my biases. Because, but I try to explain this to
You
people that
can't.
I try to take out even my bias, the fact
You
that I
can't.
am, and I try to say, like y'all don't like. I remember when I was filming, and I was filming at the Barana Ote. They gave me permission to film there, and
Mm-hmm.
like I was crying. We had moments where we were crying. Like it
Yeah.
became an entire, and I felt connected to the earth and to the spirit, and I felt like there were people around me. Like
Mm-hmm.
and there was just us. And people might say, but what nonsense that Jael is talking about now? What Laja blessed thing? What all of these things. But it wasn't a bad spirit. It was like you
No.
felt like, and like I felt like I was doing something right. Like I just felt in my stomach. I was feeling. I remember, Naja, who you guys met. Naja
Mm-hmm.
filmed with me. Like she was a writer with me, and she was my camera person. And she was just like, oh my God, Jill, this is going to be so beautiful. Like she just kept saying, oh my God, like we just, and we'd go back and we'd think about, all of the different things that we could input in there, and all of the, and I'm like, boy, if we have to make a film about Dominica, like there's so many things that we could talk
Mm-hmm.
about. And for some of us, like who are very much interested in our history and our culture, and even when we hear some nonsense, like people say some stupidness, we quick to like correct them and tell them, what, that's not the case, like just the other day, somebody, posted something about, so there was a book launch, and somebody posted saying, the book launch was on the Kalinago people, and I think you reshared it as well on Know Your Caribbean, on the Kalinago
Oh,
book
Dr.
launch.
Honey Church.
Dr. Honeychurch,
Yes.
right? So he did
Yes.
a book launch, and in the comments, I went under the comments, and I was like, because somebody is like, oh, they're fortunate to have, and I'm like, they're fortunate to have what, like they're not secure, they were not secure, they were sequestered. Like they were placed there because to the rest of them, to the rest of the world, that was the most unfavorable place to be. Like, how can you put fishermen on a mountain? How are they gonna fish when they need access to that is their livelihood? So there's so many different things, and I want to be able to teach us Dominicans. There's so many different things that we just look at it from a, oh, that's a nothing, like, but it is something. It is so much more. Like
Really.
when you talk about, so there's a story about the Kalinago people, and how they protected the island, and how they would conquer these ships that would come, that would be passing, to the point nobody wanted to pass in our waters, right? And there's a story that they captured a ship, and they took all of the gold and silver there, and they went through a cave, and that's where all of the gold and silver is in Dominica. So that's a story. Mark, nobody can go in the cave, to this day. Whenever you try to go, the waves go very, very high. So
Yeah.
it doesn't allow, like instantly. I'm saying to myself, Why is it only because you could bring a drone there close by, but the drone can't go in?
Mm-hmm.
You could do so many things. You could come close to it, but you can't go in. There's so much, and people. I'm like, there's so much spirituality. That is like a lot of history. That is like probably in that cave. Just waiting to be discovered or not. you know,
Maybe leave it alone. I like that. Leave it
or
alone.
not.
Leave it alone. Leave it
And
alone.
and
We don't
it's
need to
always
disturb
so interesting
everything.
for me to hear these stories. As a child, I was always intrigued by history, and my mom would give us all of her little stories in her own way, about growing up and all of these different things. But obvious, as Caribbean people, we have such rich histories that's passed on through generations, and I really hope that we as Dominicans can understand our true value as it relates to in relation to the rest of the Caribbean, because I still don't think that we have, because like you rightfully say, showing like people don't know half of the stuff Dominica has because
Yes.
it's not even done in a way for them to know. Like, how do
Yeah.
you know? How do you understand the importance of having the second largest boiling lake in the world? Like, you're not understanding that that is the second largest boiling lake in the world. How do you not understand that we have the best free diving site in the world? In the world! In the world!
Wow.
So on
Maluna, let
land,
me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Okay, so Dominica's International Airport is opening soon. We drove past the site, we saw it happening, right? And I feel a little bit protective, like as if I want
I don't
Dominica to
want
stay a
it.
secret in a way. Like
I don't want
because
it.
I've seen how tourism has reshaped Saint Lucia in a way that our narrative is entirely focused on appeasing tourists. And of course, for the most part, it is white tourists. Now, of course, now we have a great economy and we have access to so many things because of the tourism industry. But I feel like the strength of Dominica, it's the fact that it remains for the most part
untouched.
um yes, untouched, and I worry, and I know that the central focus is ecotourism. So, like for example, in Rosalie, like the swimming pool is from river water and that kind of thing like that. It's not like some kind of Miami Beach
Mhm.
copycat thing, which is you find has been the narrative for a lot of St. Lucian hotels. You're trying to like replicate Florida and whatever. And I don't see Dominica as doing that, but how do Dominicans feel about this future influx of people coming in, and how do you think it's going to reshape the country?
Oh,
Oh,
I don't know what
hey,
happened. We lost
hey,
her for a second. Oh, technology. Hi,
okay,
Roman Fiona. What happened? Because she's still there. She's
Fiona. Oh,
I'm here.
where are you?
I'm here. Oh,
there.
she's gone.
I'm here.
Hey, I can see
I,
y'all.
I can't see you. We can't see you. Technology. Oh my
That's
God.
so strange. Let me see what's happening.
I'm here.
You're here. I'm
Hello,
here.
I'm
All
back.
right. All right. You're back. All right. You're back.
Okay.
All right. Fiona is the
Where's
only one that's
Fiona?
listening.
I,
Fiona dropped off. Fiona
okay.
just dropped off. Hopefully she can come back on. But I like the point that she was making. So when the international airport was announced, right? This is my take on it. I like the idea of it,
Right.
but for me, I felt to some extent that it was done because people were asking for it, and everybody's always like, "Oh, it's so hard to get to Dominica. Oh, who wants to take two planes and who wants to?" I'm like, don't worry. When you take the two planes, you will understand why you need to take
It
the
was
two
worth
planes.
it.
Exactly.
You need to.
Exactly. You
So that is
planning
how
to.
I remember, like my girlfriend from Montreal, who is very much Canadian, coming to Dominica. She visited Dominica with me back in 2009, and I remember saying, Sabrina, you're going to love it. You're gonna have to go on two planes, but you're going to love it. I told her, just make sure you have your carry-on, you have clothes for a week in case your luggage stay behind, but you're going to love it, right? And she came and she did not want to leave. She did not want to leave, right? And I tried to explain this to people. And yes, I am happy that there will be easier access, but I'm not really happy that all of these people are now going to have access to
Yeah.
to something that I feel that we as Dominicans have not fully comprehended its our relevance and the importance. Yes, sure. You say
Fiona
something.
is in the waiting room.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, she's back. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yes, Fiona, you got cut off for a second. Sorry. I was saying that, like you were talking about, the international airport and and how the fact that, we're going to come to a point where a lot of people are going to be coming into Dominica. And I don't think, I personally don't think that we are ready for the influx of people,
Yeah.
because I can see how easy we can lose ourselves, because I still don't feel how that we're solid in our history. I still feel, because we still have people calling the Karinago Kwaib and Carib. The fact that we're still doing that, it
Right.
tells me
Yeah.
that we don't really know ourselves, right? We still have
Yeah.
certain things, certain things that we do that just questionable, why, like just certain nuances about us, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Or why you so color conscious? Or why, oh, the lighter skin is, shabby, and you're pretty, the darker so neck but lead, like, why are we so caught up in these things when we're not focus more on knowing our our roots. When I
Yeah.
say our roots, like the stories of the Negmaon, and like the Negmaon, the story of the Negmaon is so, like, it's on a different level. Even not even compared to the Maroons in Jamaica. You
I
know?
was just coming to say that because I read a document from the British Parliament because they were so scared of the Maroons and whatever, right? And the Maroons in Jamaica doing this. And there was a thing that said the Dominica Maroons are the group of people to be most afraid of because they are 10 times more savage than the Maroons
Yeah.
of Jamaica and this and this and that and that. And just looking at the power of Dominica. So when you go through like Dr. Honeychurch's work, you will see what he's speaking about how the Maroon community of Dominica was the size of the whole of Barbados. So it was very, very powerful to look at Dominica's history of the Negmawa.
There's the Negmaon, right? So we have these people, these kinds of people coming out from our history, and we're
Yeah.
still not able to comprehend. We had things like the Dread Act, when, like
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
listen,
God.
whoa, whoa,
You
whoa,
That
did
was a big
whoa.
that.
one.
That
Woo!
one was mad.
Like, I
Hey.
seriously contemplated, like, going to study, like doing a PhD in, because these are things I'm so passionate about, and I'm like, why aren't we seeing, like, these things and these stories, and notice recognizing, we had we had them Dominicans try to overturn a government, and we
Yeah.
have the 1939, what they call the Carib War, where they're
Yeah.
like, you know what, you're not going to and that was, Carib War was the most simplest, the most petty way you can start a war. They told
Yeah.
the Kalinago that they have to get taxed on their produce that they were going to Marigaland to pick up. They go to like a canoe, they row to Marigaland, they go, they get their cheese. So the
Yeah.
Kalinago people were eating better than the people in Rosso. So the people in Rosso check me out. But what story that? How are you going Marigaland? Because Marigaland is just an hour away from them. You put us, you sequest us all the way over there. So we're gonna run over there. We're not gonna walk all the way to Rosso when we can just take our boat, go just over there, come back with cheese, come back with gilet raisin, come back with everything
I
in
love
grand
it.
style, and all you there in Rosso with all you dry bread and go tea. So then people come with their thing, and all of a sudden, all you find out they want to tax them. All they want to tax them
Yeah,
now.
I mean,
That
they
is
were
what's
doing what
happening.
they've been doing for thousands of years. That's what they've always done. The inter-island commerce, they are the pioneers of inter-island commerce. Why would you expect them to do any differently? Why are they going to listen to these new colonial laws that have been around for you say 100 years, 200 years, even if it was 500 years, when they've been doing this for thousands of years? Why would we expect them to just change that just so? And
Right?
on top, pay tax to the people who have oppressed and,
Make
like,
sense.
and have done genocide to my people. Why would I want to go and pay taxes to you all?
So,
So
Dominic, I think, like, I feel like we as Dominicans need to understand our history so much more. And look at we talking so about so many different historic parts about Dominica that that are known not just in Dominica. It's like across the Caribbean. We That's a share. That's a history that we share with all the other folks of the Caribbean. I'm interested to know from you guys and your perspective, like how do you see modern Caribbean societies? Like we've seen, balancing our heritage preservation with embracing global influences, because we have so many things, so many things. We want to Americanize this and we want to Americanize that, and even on international airport is an Americanization of something, because we're trying to make everything more connected to. I'm trying to run away from America and everybody's trying to connect me back to America. How do you see, you know modern, how can we balance our heritage preservation with embracing those global influences? Like, any, I don't know who wants to go. Chantal, who would want to?
Yay.
Well,
Hi.
oh,
I believe it starts in school. It starts in education, and not just in school, general education, right? That is where it begins. It begins at home, the way that you educate your children, the way that you speak about our culture, our history, the way that you show reverence for that, right? It
Mhm.
starts there, because if it doesn't start at the root, trying to then introduce it, and not that it can't be, not that this sense of nationalistic pride cannot be introduced in your later years, because of course it can. But if you start at the foundation, you know, I was lucky. I was born into a family where traditions of the Caribbean were a priority, where making sure that I knew who I was and I understood who I was a priority. And my mother got that from her parents, and my grandparents got that from their grandparents. And so for me, it's innate. But if it's not an innate thing, we need to make our children curious enough to want to know more, to see more, to know that my culture, my history, my traditions are as important as America, are as important as the influences of Canada and the UK. And also be really truthful in terms of, I live where I live in Nevis, it's a former plantation. It's called Hamilton Estate, blatantly, right? Every time I go into town, I'm walking on the colonization of my island. I'm walking on streets named after the oppressor,
Mhm.
right? So our government also has a responsibility.
Mhm.
It's like, how about we take down that statue of Alexander Hamilton, who came from a family of enslavers?
Mhm.
Family owned a plantation on my island. How about we not revere him? Because
Mhm.
all he did was to be born on my island, and he
Mhm.
left when he was 9 and never looked back. So why is there a statue of him on the grounds of the Nevis Museum? Why are we not teaching the history of our indigenous people? And why is it that when people like myself speak out, I don't even feel like I'm speaking out against anything. I am simply asking questions, but not vilify those people, right? I don't think there should be a statue of Alexander Hamilton at the Nevis Museum. I think that there needs to be some research, more research into our indigenous people, more research into the people in Nevis who led the rebellions, because like you said, there were Maroons on every island. So how about we look at Raleigh and do some digging, take some interest into how these things became the things they are. Why are all the masqueraders and fife players concentrated in Rollins Village? There's a reason for that. So let's do some research. Why is it that the masquerade of Nevis was taken to Bermuda in the 1920s? And so we have that commonality, but all we're focusing on right now is tourism
Mhm.
and visiting Bermuda. Okay, that's great, but why? What's
Yeah.
the link between Nevis and Bermuda outside of homeless?
And not only that, but what stories are we telling to people who visit,
Yes,
right? Like we're almost sensationalizing these, and you say, probably take it down. I don't always agree with the taking down aspect of it, and I'll tell you why I don't agree.
yeah,
Because I see the US trying to do the reverse, where they're trying to disrupt and say, well, we don't want critical race theory taught. We want to take it down because it's bothering us. I feel all of these things make a part of our history, and
Mhm.
it should be taught, but it should be taught in the right way. If you're gonna tell us one thing, you're gonna tell us everything. You
Everything.
can't tell us some and leave out the
Yeah.
others. So yes, you have Hamilton there, but let us know that probably he used to rape your, you
Yeah.
understand, right?
Yeah.
Probably he,
What's the point in having him if he was?
Or maybe not. Yeah. Yeah. No,
I
and
say probably. I say
I
probably.
I hear what you're saying, but I
Mhm,
feel for me, because Nevis is so tiny,
mhm,
when we have our spaces need to be celebrating our heroes. That's how I feel about it.
Mm.
There's so many other heroes from Nevis. You know, one of the first playwrights of the Harlem Renaissance, and a lot of people don't even know this, was Nevision, born and raised in Nevis, and then moved with her parents to Harlem. And a lot
right.
of people don't know that. She was
Wow.
actually Nevision. It's like,
Wow.
wow, a lot of people know about Cicely Tyson. Great. But there are other Nevisions doing very notable things around the world. You know, one of the first lauded midwives in England was from St. Kitts.
Yes, I read that. I read that when I was doing
Mhm.
because I
Yeah.
was very interested to know about midwives because my mom was a midwife. So I was
Okay.
very, so out of curiosity, I wanted to know. And I was like, hey, I didn't know. Like
Hello.
she was the
She
one that
changed the
founded
game.
midwifery. She was
Right.
the, yes, she reshaped midwifery
Yes.
and the way things were done, the way babies were birthed, the way they were,
Exactly. The
the way they
aftercare,
came through. Yes, yes, the
all
aftercare.
that
Hmm.
postpartum depression,
Yes,
all this is a Kittitian woman, a woman from St. Kitts and Nevis. Let's talk about them. Let's put up statues of them. So
yes,
for like I said, it starts at the root. It starts in the homes, it starts in the schools, because we can't always also depend on the schools when it comes to certain aspects of educating our children. You know, we have platforms like Know Your Caribbean. Have your
hmm,
children follow them as well as whoever else they're following. Follow Know Your Caribbean. Follow what's the other one, Fiona? I love her so much, and the name has gone completely out of my head. Um, but she speaks about a lot about more about the commerce aspect, um, the traumas of slavery and how it's played out still in the Caribbean. And I can't remember the name of her platform, but I'll think about it.
think about it.
Mhm.
You tell it to me. I can always pin it on the thing so
We
people can
really
know.
need to be taking ownership and almost gatekeeping, in a sense, our culture and history and traditions. Yes, we're open people. We love, we're open. But you know what? Sometimes that gate needs to be closed.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Sometimes we need to keep it
Our
closed. And
question:
yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
we are loving people,
Mm.
but do you think that our openness is down to our performative nature to pander to white people sometimes?
Sometimes, yes,
I know
absolutely.
we loving it and we just welcome people in our house and I nothing and
Yeah.
we share a lot, but
I think it's just
do
natural
you think that
amongst us, amongst because we do that naturally with each other. You know, like if you even think about Watso and the whole, like giving, you go by the bay, you go by the river, you everybody brings something, you cook up. I think it's natural. It's something that comes naturally to us. The problem is that we don't. I'll talk for me myself as a Dominican. I think that we lack the capacity to understand that everybody don't need to be in your circle and you don't need to bring them in, right?
Yes.
yes.
All right, and that is and everybody not meant to be in that space.
This.
And when, especially when they come with their own like ideas, like like one of the things that you said you spoke about recently, I remember on, I think it was, I don't know your carbon, I just get them confused, you on one of your platforms you were talking about, let's call them migrants, they're not expats.
Immigrants. They're immigrants.
Grants,
They're immigrants, right?
not
They're not
expats.
expats, and
Mhm.
even like in Dominica, like we have, this entire area where a lot of immigrants live, and
Yeah, we
everyone,
flew
and
through
they
there.
call themselves expats, and I'm like, y'all not expats,
You're like
y'all are
immigrants.
immigrants, y'all have immigrated to Dominica, and we've accepted y'all with arms wide open. We make y'all feel very comfortable because that's how we are. But
I'm so sorry, Ola.
I know of immigrants who have come to Dominica, and they have the favorable ones and they're the very unfavorable ones who want to start
Yes.
trouble with other businesses. They don't want your business to flourish because they have a business,
Yes.
that might compete with y'all. They get the police to do all of their biddings for them. So anytime they call the police reach by them. The police will not reach by you, you can
Okay.
call them, right?
So
So
the question would be, why is it that the police reach by them? So okay, if we say that we are a naturally open people, right? And that we can share, and for example, what was a great example of how we are open as a people and we love to share. My question is, aside from that, why is it that the police go to this white immigrant community first before they go to Dominicans? And I'm saying that because the same thing happens in St. Lucia too. But
I
why is
think
what?
I think a huge
Mhm.
part of it is um it's been systematically sort of set up where we don't want nothing bad to happen to those white people because it will go on the media, and they'll make Dominica look like as if they're the bad person.
Mm.
They're very. I remember once a couple years ago, a woman got into it with locals, and I'm not going to single out where because I don't know if the case is still in court, but
Mhm.
the guy kicked her out of the house. Apparently, she was
Mhm.
there. And she feel like a white woman, like she wrong and she's strong. And the guy he washed her. He started taking down all the boards from the house. He said, "You don't want to go." He take down everything, the boards of the
Chancery.
house, the roof, everything. It was the man take it down. The man take it down. And people were on and she went online and she did a video and she demonized the entire community. And somebody on the outside looking in might say, but Jay, I don't want to come to that place. They might think, well,
Mm.
probably we don't want them to come there. Like, why should we care if they come there if you don't willing to know and understand that this is somebody who was squatting and why saying too much because I could be still a case, it could still potentially be out in the court
Mhm.
system. I didn't call name, no name, no warrant. So things like that happen, and you ask yourself, like, or there was an instant like I remember a white woman felt entitled to go to a close relative of mine's restaurant and they slammed down their cell because they were upset that they had gotten competition, and these are the kinds of things that we allow and then
Mhm.
they're going to this gets into the court system and I've seen it play out where they get favoritism from not just the police but also the court system. They don't show up to court when they're supposed to, and everybody's like, oh, they're traveling, they're this. But if it's you tet neck tet shesh that do that, it's like a whole like, oh, go
Mhm.
straight to jail, don't collect 100, go straight to jail, like they make
Mhm.
it feel like so I feel like and it's not just Dominican, that happens across the Caribbean in terms
Because
of
Yeah.
we need to
we sensationalize these white people because I
we
don't know if
need
you
to
think we need
decolonize
them.
our mindsets. We're still a lot of us still have a colonized mindset.
Yes.
And especially when you look at, for example, I told you my first job, one of my first jobs was at a hotel. And first thing they teach you at the hotels is the customer, the guests are always right.
Right.
Right? No matter what they do. And I've told this story before about a guest coming and I gave them everything. I was really nice. I gave them the wine and everything. And then the next day they go and complain, say I forced them to buy wine.
Oh,
They bought two bottles and took the third one back to their room. But
what?
I forced them to buy the expensive wine.
Forced
And
them.
then
Okay.
my manager telling me I need to apologize to them quickly.
Wait,
Please tell
what?
me what is happening. They could all. Is this child friendly? I should. They could all go back to where they came from, the hole they came from. They could go back right there because I am not apologizing.
Mhm.
I did nothing wrong. But that is the mindset. You go to the check and driving. Oh, really upset me was when we was coming out of COVID and then they opened up the airport and people start flying in again. And then you saw them. Oh, they put on a huge show for the first set of people coming to Sandals or whatnot. They have fire breathers, people
Mm-hmm.
on stilts, and this
Yeah.
and that. Welcome, welcome. We miss you. Like, what the hell? They're doing that for us nowhere else. Why we have to be doing that for them? And this coming from a tourism background, what you were saying earlier in regards to Dominica and the airport. As much as I love tourism, love tourism. However, if it's not done in a sustainable way, if it's not planned sustainably, Dominica could lose a lot of its natural beauty because, hey, you build an airport, that means people come in, that means you need to have rooms for them. Okay? Where they building the hotels?
You have to start cutting down trees.
Thank you. These rainforests that are so beautiful and so like the ecosystems there, they have to put them somewhere. So it will just cause a domino effect. And I want Dominicans to be very, very aware of what is happening. With tourism comes development, with development comes, all
Destruction.
right? So
Let's be real.
let's be real.
Real.
So just be aware of that. I
Yeah.
if I were Dominican now, I would be asking questions. I'll be like, okay, what plans, what are your plans for the next 25 years, 30 years, 40 years? Where are you building those hotels?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're gonna lose ecosystem. We're gonna lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware of that.
Mm.
Bear in mind, I love tourism, but tourism always comes at a price.
Yes.
It always does. It always does. And we've seen it over the years. And I think for me as a Dominican, especially because I was born and raised in the countryside, right? So I understand country living. I wasn't a Jean Ozo. I understand what it is like to wake up and hear the birds, and to go to before it's like 5 o'clock, you hear the crickets. I wake up, seen a lot of birds and a lot of insects and butterflies. The other day I was like, oh my god, like certain areas in Dominica you can't even find butterflies.
Oh.
They're
Like,
going.
find butterflies, right?
Okay.
And where I grew up, one two now and again you'll see a butterfly, but now seeing a butterfly. And are we like paying attention to these things? Are we realizing that because these things thrive if the environment is conducive for their survival? If it's not conducive, they're going to die.
Yeah.
And when they die out, like, I know for years, we had the Kwapo was our national.
Yes, look what happened.
No, it's no longer a national dish now. It's the Kalalu because it can't be the national dish because it was becoming extinct.
Wow.
So there's so many things that we have to pay attention. And I'm not like you rightfully say. Like I love tourism. I love. There's certain things about it I don't like. I don't appreciate cruise tourism. But I have a little bit more of a softer heart for people who come and live amongst the people. You're not
Mm-hmm.
coming because you want to come to no bougie hotel, 5-star hotel. Like when I went to Cuba the first time, I stayed with people. I went
Yes,
online and I was like,
yes. It's
how do
cultural
I
exchange.
right? How do I go and
Yes.
live with somebody for I want to spend like $15 a night? I'll bring down a suitcase of things for y'all. Like what do you want me to bring down? And
Yeah.
wish that Dominicans looked at that side of it instead of like encourage people to come and do exchange, get them to come and live among you so they understand why it's so important to preserve this. And so they make you understand why
Mhm.
it's so important for you to preserve it because they're going to live.
That's
Okay,
true.
but you live in this sweet life. I've invited people and they think like I live in like a bourgeoisie. But I'm like, I live in like a bourgeoisie, like you just live in normal. That's
Normal.
normal for us, right? So you are right when you say when tourism comes in, it brings in development, but we have to be so very cautious so we can to guard our gates.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know, so
Yes.
sustainably.
they don't take everything from us and leave us with nothing. Obviously, we spoke about a little bit about the resistance, in terms of the history, but I want to touch a little bit about on aspects of our triumphs and our tragedies because we've had so much of a rich past, not just as Dominicans but as Caribbean people. How do you think our collective past really shape how we as people see ourselves today. Because y'all talk about so many things about our history and how it's so important to how do you see that shaping who we are today? I don't know. Show you want to go,
I
Chantal?
would prefer Fiona or Chantal to go.
Girl, I'm over here just chilling.
Like, take over this one, honey.
This is what they do to me on the podcast as well, right? It's always, oh,
Because you're so good
go
at it.
first.
You're so
And,
good at
and,
it.
and you make sure to edit out that part where they say, Chantal, is your turn.
What?
She's,
I always have to go first.
so good at it.
When you listen to the podcast, you will hear me ask that question time and time again. Why do I have to go first? I don't understand. Oh
You have
God.
to,
Because
you have, you have
you're
a
the
first
Miss
place.
Universe of the collective. You have your answers
As I
on
am in
deck.
the throes of perimenopause and my brain fog is so real. Okay? And we are very transparent, unrelatable.
I'm coming up to there.
We are very open
Yeah.
and transparent. So
Yeah.
and I think it's important. It's important for people to know who we are.
I'm
I'm
still 25 though. I don't know what you're talking about.
okay.
In
So
my brain, in my waist, I'm still 25, My boobs still say I'm 25, But
Okay, honey.
I am 51.
Okay.
I am I am beyond half a century. So there's no escaping the biological
my
occurrence.
girl, you can escape it if you tell somebody. My mother used to have this thing she used to say about a particular person. I'm not going to name because a lot of people watch this show and I don't want to. And my mother used to say she old in her face and hard in her waist. How she young? If you're not old in your if you're not old in your face and you're not hard in your waist, you young.
I'm somewhere in between because I don't know about my waist right now. Maybe my face, but
You
my
need a
waist
little WD-40. It's going
is
squeaky.
definitely WD-40. Okay, right. The way I am set up in Nevis, my friend is so funny you say that. I was saying to my friend about my Dominica experience because it was the first time that I was in Dominica.
Mhm.
And she was like, how was it? And I said to her, I said, Dominica for me is when I envisioned myself, as an adult, as a child in Nevis, when I envisioned myself as an adult, it was living, and not necessarily Nevis, it was always an island, right? I was living on an island and I was in my beautiful small wooden cottage, and there was like a river next to me, and I would wake up and go into my garden and pick what I was going to use to make my breakfast, and then I would just be writing. That is the vision I had in my head as a child of my life as an adult. And then I arrived in Dominica, and we were staying at this beautiful villa, Harmony Villa. And I'm like, but look my childhood vision right here in Dominica. And I was blown away by that. I'm like, wait, hang on. This is
Yeah.
how I envisioned my life would be as an adult. It would be on an island where I felt that connection, where I absolutely felt Caribbean, right?
Yes.
And I know the word Caribbean is problematic in itself, but I still prefer it to West Indies because we all know where that came from.
Right?
Um, but like Lord, and so you asked about trauma, triumphs, and tragedy, right? And how we feel that has shaped us as a people and as individuals. I feel that this word that I'm going to say is so overused right now, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Resilience.
Resilience,
I hate that word.
I am so over it because I'm like, I don't want to be resilient. I want to be soft. I want
Yes.
to be
Soft
nurtured.
life.
I want to be taken
Yes.
care of. I don't actually want to be resilient.
I don't want to work.
I don't want to work.
I just want to do this. I want to create beautiful things and make people feel good.
Right?
And make
And wear white linen and big hats and lay on the beach.
around. I don't want to be adulting. Adulthood is ghetto.
It
Okay?
is.
It's ghetto. And no one told me this as a child that adulthood is the hoodiest of the hoods.
I want to be a child again.
I just really
Take care of me.
But there is truth in that. There is truth in the fact that we have inherited, it's in our DNA. Because when we think about what our African ancestors and our indigenous ancestors were lived through, their lived experience and what they survived is in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that. For those of us who are lucky enough and privileged enough to have indigenous heritage,
Mm-hmm.
that's a privilege. And if I could find 1% indigenous, I will let everyone know. Okay. But the combination of their resilience and the resilience of the enslaved Africans who are our ancestors has brought us to this place where, in the face of the worst atrocities and tragedies, Nevis has had its fair share. I think the most recent being the Christina, the sinking of the Christina, and the loss of so many lives between St. Kitts and Nevis. I will use this as what's the word? I don't know, sea brain frog. But it's a perfect analogy for tragedy and triumph of the people. That was one of our most tragic events. We lost people. The ocean took a lot of our people on that boat on that fateful day. And so when people are celebrating Emancipation Day, it's also a very painful day for us because that's when it actually occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this duality on Emancipation Day where we are somewhat celebrating the emancipation of one set of our ancestors and mourning the loss of another set of our ancestors and more recent. So, my classmate's dad was lost. He lost his dad on the Christina, and he now is one of our premier swimming instructors. That's triumph.
Wow.
Because he could have taken that. My father drowned because this boat sank. He could have taken another route and said, I'm not going into the water. The water is not my friend. But instead, he embraced the ocean and he is teaching other children and young adults and adults, elderlies, how to feel safe in the same water that claimed the life of his father. And for me, that is a perfect analogy of who we are. We take the atrocities and turn them into joy, and these lessons are turned into joy and and celebration and gratitude and reverence. No other people on this planet do that the way that we do. We took the worst food that was given to us and made them gourmet. Like, what the fuck? Made them gourmet, baby. Okay. Hello. How are we gonna take saltfish and make it so many national dishes
The
throughout the country?
dregs.
Listen,
Jesus, the
we took
dregs.
pigtail. We took oxtail.
No, you say pigtail. I was watching a video of a man eating his pigtail. He say he come out from a Dominican man. He say he come out from the US and he come Dominican. He gone by free pail of pig snout because that he was waiting for to reach Dominica, to eat his pig so he not getting it in the US. And it's so important what you're saying. Like we've taken the worst out of our
Worst,
experiences
the
and
worst, and
and
making it something that is joyful and community. So now James Weeks, I'm gonna call his name, has built this huge community of swimmers on this island. And there are many more people like him who have turned that tragedy into a triumph. Because we know ancestrally there's a deep fear of the ocean for a lot of black people. And we know
people.
why. Hello.
It's inherited too. It's inherited.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
inherited.
these things are passed down. And so for
Yeah.
us to have this embedded and decide, you know what, I'm gonna turn this around. And whether it's consciously or subconsciously, this is what we do. And that is something that is, to me, it is resplendently beautiful
It's
and
magical.
to who we are. It is absolutely the natural mystic that Bob Marley sings about.
Mm-hmm.
We are the natural mystic. Our
Mm-hmm.
existence is a natural. We are here. The fact that we're here, the fact that these four Black Caribbean women are having this conversation and seem to know what they're talking about,
We
You
are
know,
here.
and defeated Mercury going into retrograde today.
I don't know
Is
No,
it
Bishito,
today?
but
If
it's
you're not, I'm not so sure about myself yet.
retrograde today. Today is the first day of Mercury retrograde.
How long? For how
It's
many
for
days?
5 weeks,
she
baby.
said 5 weeks.
What?
Yes.
5 weeks.
Oh,
I rebuke and not accepting it.
again,
No.
You know
again.
what? But let's not vilify Mercury because Mercury is a planet, and yes, it governs communication, and yes, shit
Mercury need to
go wrong. But
relax.
we
We've
just
had
need to
enough
relax.
retrograding this year.
Exactly.
Just
Just
relax.
chill. Just
Just chill.
chill. Just chill. Just don't sign
I
the
want
contract.
I want to go to the chat because people have been commenting. So Emmy Baptist said, "What makes me so proud that I'm from Dominica?" Hashtag Wato. Um, she says Miranda is also saying, "Love it, guys. Keep talking." Niande says, "Jail, you need to have a conversation with my dad. I think you'll be amazed by his experiences."
Yep,
Um,
you
Yes.
will. You will. He
uh,
is.
somebody else says, so Lola says it makes total sense because of an influx of tourists. Our island now has to focus on preserving as much as we can what made us the top attraction in the first place. We stand a risk of being overused. I definitely see the benefit, but definitely I see the downside.
Yeah.
So Emily saying I shared a taxi with a tourist and her husband. He's a scuba diver, and she said he scuba dives in the different islands, but she leaves her husband and flies directly to Dominica, where she and her husband linked up because Dominica is the best, and she doesn't want to go anywhere else. She says she don't want too much tourists flocking Dominica. She herself is
Thank
a
you.
tourist. She's a
Thank
tourist.
you.
Like I don't want much
Thank
tourists flocking
you.
Dominica. I ran into just not too long ago. I ran into a woman from Ecuador who came to Dominica to deep sea a free dive, and she heard about it and she just hopped on a plane. Her husband, one of those those rich people, can just catch flights and no feelings. And she just hopped on the plane and she came to Dominica, and she's like, "Oh my god, like I was so blown away, like I'm coming back." So I tell her, "You're gonna bring your family?" She goes, "No, that's my thing. I don't want them to come." She's like,
Right.
"I'm
Yes.
keeping it." She's like, "I'm keeping it to myself."
That's the
I
thing.
don't.
I
Go
feel like
tell him.
we talking I can't stop talking about Dominica. Then I'm saying, but Shane, you don't really want too many people to know that you're really. I'm like, that's our little secret. That Dominica is my little.
Yes,
Are
But
we
at the
being selfish?
same time,
We're being
that's
selfish
it.
at the same time. Maybe it's as like you're saying, getting the right people. And I think as we are the gatekeepers, it's what we allow into our own country and
Yes.
the type the narrative that we present to the world. And I think if we want to present ourselves like we like South Beach, Florida, or like the Bahamas, all these kind of things like that, and then try to create something that doesn't blend with the landscape, well then it's going to be at a loss. And I think the thing that the difficulty that we have with tourism, people say it's a new form of colonialism, right? So how do we balance that, especially when we're speaking about when we have our issues of colorism, hair
yes.
texturism, classism,
Xenophobia.
racism?
All
There are many there are many different isms that we
isms.
still that we're still contending with. And I think this kind of performative behavior that we put for white people, and there's a difference between service and servitude. You don't need to overexert yourself. You don't need to change your accent when you're talking
Hello.
to them. You don't need to be shocking and jiving and doing the most. And if you need to treat them in the same way that you would treat
Every
a
and the person.
Dominican or a Saint Lucian or whatever, in the same gracious way that you would, and just give good service without presenting yourself as something else. I think that will add to our Caribbean cultural confidence. I think tourism has a way of making us feel like our culture, our is there only to be performed to white viewers, when it's not. It's a blessing for them to come and see you perform. It's a blessing for them to come and have your food. It's a blessing for them to even be here,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's we are not begging for them to come here. It is like their lifetime dream, like to come to Dominica or to come to the Caribbean. Some of these
Mhm.
people have never left America before or whatever.
Some
So
of them
this
don't
is
even have
like
a
a
passport. And
Yes.
meanwhile, we
exactly.
have passports traveling since we baby.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. So I think it's just realizing that we are the biggest blessing, okay? And we don't need to be beggy to them. At the end of the day, we are the ones with the upper hand. And I think if we continue to think of ourselves in that way, I would just use this analogy. If you've ever been to a really fancy restaurant in wherever in the world, right? Or you've seen it on TV, doesn't the butler have the most arrogance? Does he not look down on you? How do you not know this wine? And whatever. Because this man has his own confidence in himself,
Mhm.
even though he's a waiter or a butler or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Because he has that confidence in himself, even though he's serving you, but
Mhm.
he's serving you in a way that's not of servitude. It is
Right.
service. And I think that's the type of thing that we have to do. Look
Yep.
at ourselves with our relationship with tourism.
Yep.
Yes, I love that. I hope the Ministry of Tourism they're listening because they just
Okay.
come. They just always come and they just come. If they're not coming, they're sending their people to watch. Because we say all of this to mean well. It's
Yeah,
always from a place of love.
absolutely.
It's always from a place where we see so much progress. You want to keep some things for yourself,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
while you don't want to just share everything. At the same time, you don't want to open to people that the unfavorable parts of
Mm.
unfavorable ones that will come. You want to be able to still, hold on the fort and keep the gates open at a little bit. You don't open it
A
wide.
little angle.
Just open
Okay.
it.
A little angle.
You can
They
keep the
need,
gate open, but they have to respect the housekeeping rules.
Yeah.
Right, right,
Right.
right. I like
That's
that.
all.
Keep the gate open, but respect. And
open.
I, I mean,
No,
I
no,
do.
no, no. Don't keep it open.
No?
No,
I see.
they need the code. They
Oh,
need the code.
putting a code on it.
Push out the code. There's no keeping it open.
Uh-uh.
My
They
man.
need a
Have,
code.
have you been given the code? If you've been given
Yeah.
the code, then you can come in because you've already
Yes.
done the due diligence. That's
That's
right.
right. Make
That's
sure you
right.
have the
Okay.
code, right? If you ain't got the code, you're not coming in. I mean, I love everything that you guys have said, and I really wanted you guys to come on here so we could share, you could talk a little bit about your experience in Dominica, and these things that you really liked. And somebody might say, "Oh, you get a bunch of women to come and talk about Dominica," but I really wanted people to understand from different people's perspective what we have, like the gem that we have, the gem beyond compare, our national song says, our gem beyond compare, what we have, and why it's so important to preserve so many different aspects of it, but also why it's so important to educate ourselves as Dominicans, because I think we can want to preserve as much as we can, but if we don't educate ourselves, and Chantal, you raise a really good point about the education of people, and not because there's education and there's education, because there are things that were put into books, into history books, that's not necessarily the truth, right? So we have to almost retrain ourselves, to understanding that there are things that are out there, that should not necessarily be what we want to learn. We want to unlearn those things and learn
Fun.
and
Yeah.
learn the things that that really
Yes.
make us a rich people, culturally people that are very connected, our identity, people that are connected to the earth, people are who understand our spirituality. I mean, I know Dominicans, let me tell you, Dominicans are stand up for what they believe in it. So without tripping you, when you see they believe in something, you can, I mean, all you see how Dominicans behave when you get
I love
something
my
wrong.
Dominican people, eh?
When you
Listen,
see
that's
you
the
get
one thing I
something
didn't
wrong,
say. Hey, Dominicans to me, you're next level, eh? I love Dominicans. Just the mere fact y'all sound so much like Lucians, but
Mm.
y'all sound like y'all have there's a little on top of it, a little something.
we have
I
extra
love
sauce,
it.
extra sauce.
I love it. I love it. I felt it again. Yeah, I can't stop. I can't stop.
Yeah,
But I
I
fell
mean,
in love with them.
it's wonderful to hear you guys talk about Dominica in that way, and in that, because I like to, I wanted to be an outsider to kind of say, yo, go learn all your stuff, go get You know,
Exactly.
so that you understand. So when, because the airport's going to come, and not just the airport, so many other things will come. You know, but
Change.
what, and we use the airport just as an example. There are
Mm-hmm.
so many other things that will come.
Mm-hmm.
But when it does come, right? What are you gonna do? How you
Absolutely.
gonna behave? You
Yeah.
know, what you gonna say? How you gonna act? You know, are you gonna treat people like they're more than you? Are you gonna just open, like
No,
you say, open the gates and you just let them come in? You
no,
know, like
no, no, no.
you have to
No.
still understand that they have to, like, I love this. Get the code. You have the code. You read the code. You know, there's a code. We can probably do something like the Dominican code. Get the
That's
code so you can
Mm-hmm.
come in and learn and understand. And there's so many ways that you could do this. They could do this sustainably. And I'm so happy that you guys enjoy Dominica and you guys love it. And I suspect Fiona probably gonna already done scouting to buy land, because when you're from the Eastern Caribbean, it's very easy to move to Dominica. Eh? You just have to
Let
say
me
your
tell you
name.
Well,
something.
Pap.
We've been doing our
listen.
research.
we've been
Actually,
researching.
Free movement. It's free movement. And
We've
not,
been researching, and I
let me
put
tell
it
you,
out there already.
don't make
A
nobody
good
mama guy. Yeah,
Dominican,
it's very, very easy. It's
a good
very,
Dominican man I want.
Listen.
don't tell them.
show
Don't
it.
tell them.
Show me says I don't make money. All you need to have is a Caricom passport. That
I
is
have
it.
that. I have that. Don't
That
worry.
is
Don't
it. Once
tell.
you have your
No,
Caricom
don't tell
passport,
them. Don't tell
Don't
them
tell
the
them. Don't. Hey,
secret.
don't tell them they buy now passports too. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. Why I feeling hot now? Y'all have
you,
me
you know, I love,
sweating.
you see what you say there? Because one of the things that, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm probably gonna wrap up. Need to wrap up. We've been on this for a while. I one of the things that I was saying to people, like, there are a lot of foreigners with our passports as Caribbean people, right?
Yes.
A lot of people who are foreign, and you see how the world. I mean, if you look at climate change and all of these changes that are happening, we have wars, we have cases of insecurities where food shortages are concerns, and all of those things. And we look at our Caribbean islands, we are going to be the last ones to feel those things. And you know what these people are going to do? They're going to come with their passports. And that's my greatest fear. They're going to
Yep.
come with our passports and they're going to say, you know what? That piece of land for $50,000, I gonna give you $500,000 for it, right? And then they're gonna make you become their slaves to work on their land, right? And I'm so fearful of this. I always say to people, like my friends who own land, I always say to them, if you're going to sell, if a white man come to buy your land, lease it to him instead.
Do not sell it.
Don't
Lease
sell.
it to him
Not
instead.
Do not
do not
Do
sell
not sell
your
your
land.
land.
do
Do
not
not sell your land. Lease that land
sell your
instead.
land.
Even if it's for 50 years, lease
Leave,
it instead.
leave.
Because hey, that's what they do in the UK. You buying a house, leasehold.
Okay.
Hello, you
Okay.
getting your lease for 150 years or how many ever years. Then that going back to the original
Back to the
owner.
original owner.
You don't own that shit.
Thailand.
Okay?
Thailand does not. Thailand, with its booming tourism industry, does not sell land
Don't
to
sell
foreigners.
land
Much.
They
to
lease it.
tourists.
You
No.
Leave.
cannot buy land in
And
Thailand.
if you marry a Thai person, when you divorce, everything staying there. You
That's right.
can't make them.
So
No,
they're
no,
right.
no. It's staying
They're
there.
right. There
You
is much.
divorce the woman get everything, and you could piss off.
Right?
Yes.
That's right.
All
Right. So
right.
that is something
So
that I've
that's
always
what we
said
need
to,
to.
like, my friends, I'm glad that you guys agree with it, because sometimes I used to, like, second guess myself when I say that, you know what, lease the land. Do not go sell in your land. Lease it
Yes.
for 50
Yes.
years or 100 years.
A
Lease it
hundred years, and then it come back to your family. That's what they do.
They're
That's
right.
what they do. Leasehold.
Stop selling all your land. Stop
All
selling
right.
all your land to
Hey,
other
I
man.
getting hot.
Right?
What? My
So
show. I think I getting a hot flash.
We shall come back and talk
it,
about
it
mental
was
health.
Oh my
it was
God.
it was such a pleasure having all three of you on here with me. It was really a wonderful time. I wish you guys could come back on and probably I'll have you guys come on individually. We could talk about because there's so much to talk about, one on one, and probably I'll come on your relatable podcast. We never know. We
Hey, pleasure.
I feel so connected to all of you in so many different ways. Your histories, your past, and minds, and I think feel like we intersect and we're Caribbean women, all on the same goal, the same journey, advocacy, very community oriented, very much interested in our history, very much interested in our culture, very true to our identities, and I absolutely love every single one of you. I consider you guys my sisters. I know
Yes,
Niana is on there. Niana said, make them get a visa.
Yes,
Wow.
please.
a visa.
Ask
Okay,
for
Leander.
them.
Okay, Leander.
But Sherwin, let me tell you, you talk about a man, Devontae,
Okay.
who's my dog.
Oh,
Devontae is my dog. Devontae said Dominica are a good looking man.
Well, if you listen to Relatable, you will know that looks don't
Yeah,
really do
true.
much for Showin. I like them a little rough around the edges, yeah. The big nose, short, black.
So black,
Mm,
they blue. You like
blue. I want to see them. I want. It's not about the looks for Showin. Just take care of yourself and take care of me. And it's good.
I
Niana
love
said that
that.
was not for she said the visa
Yeah.
thing was for the colonizers. The visa comment was for the colonizers.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Not for all you.
Oh,
Not for all
I'm,
you.
re-
okay.
I'm reading the comments. I'm reading the comments.
It was wonderful having all of you on here with me, and I want to give you guys a final word. You can have your final say, and we get out of here. So we'll let Sherwin. You want to go first because Sherwin is funny and she hot.
I'm for finals day. I mean, Gasa, we're tribe now, innit? I
Yes.
Fiona and I, all three of us coming to the back home. We've realized that we keep meeting these wonderful women all over the Caribbean. Everywhere we go, we meet these wonderful women, and I feel like we're building a tribe and we're building a family. So I'm just happy to have met you,
Yes.
Neander. Neander is my
Yes.
sister.
Yes.
Misana is my sister.
Yes.
They adopted me without them knowing, and I'm a Dominica girl too as well.
Yes. Yes. Dominica good. Who makes lots, Fiona?
Um, like showing us taking the words out of my own heart. Dominica really does have my heart. I think there have been too many special moments, and
Mm-hmm.
I've loved this conversation to encourage, um, not just for us to appreciate Dominica, but for Dominicans to appreciate
Appreciate.
Dominica, because I've been to not the whole of the Caribbean, but I've been to a lot of places in the Caribbean and in the world too, and there's nothing like Dominica.
I agree.
And I think there's something so like you were talking about the history when you're breaking down the history, and there's so many layers of what Dominica is, aside from its beauty and its rivers and everything, but how powerful its history is. And like I said, Dominica may have been colonized, but Dominica was never conquered. Never. You could never conquer Dominica. And I think once we start to encourage that mindset, I think there's nothing. It don't matter. A million white people could descend on Dominica, but it wouldn't matter if the strength of the people, the resolve of the people, stays loving Dominica in the way that it deserves. And I just want to encourage that. I can't wait to come back. Any excuse to come back because it has been
You're coming for carnival? You're coming for carnival?
not
No,
the thing is
Clashing,
we
Gasa.
no,
don't
no.
do us that because we
It
say the
clashing.
word Martinique and Guadeloupe because
It
we're
clashing
doing a
with what?
cultural. I'll explain why very briefly. When Sherwin and I were in Martinique this year, we saw all the female drummers
Mm,
in Martinique, and then we came to find out that there is a huge cohort of female drummers in Guadeloupe, and we're working on a inter Caribbean exchange to have these female drummers come to Saint Lucia to do some training. So we're actually not just going to fete, okay? We're going
Yes.
for a purpose. So that's the only. I hope that's a good enough
Well,
excuse
I
as to
love the
why
fact
we.
that you brought that up because today I was actually talking to somebody and we were talking about, how it's so important to get, because we were talking along the lines of costume building.
mm.
And she
Mm-hmm.
was saying she wants to have a workshop to teach young people how to build costume because that's what she does. That's like a big deal for her, right? And she's been doing it for years. And then went into the drumming thing, and it's funny you say that. She was talking. We were having a conversation today. We have a conversation about that. And how it's important it is to continue that.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't get lost, and not just continue it because we want somebody to learn it, but continue it with all of the history and all of the so people can know why this is done this way. It's not because I beat him, but why we use that skin, and why is it stretched that way, and how long we stretch it for, and why is it that wood that we put like all of the different parts of it, and not just teaching people how to drum. So it's crazy that you bring that up, because I'm going to tell her she needs to connect with y'all too, because I can see how she can incorporate that, because I know she's actually trying to access funding so she can put that together. And I was giving her some ideas because where grants are concerned, I know all about all kinds of grants, because
Oh,
Guess what class I go
oh,
apply?
oh, oh, oh. Maybe
I,
maybe
I
we'll
know
see
I
you
know
then,
about them,
Lucy.
but I don't like to apply for them. I like to I get a because I it's just too much. So I have a grant writer, and I'm always like, look for something specific to this and specific to that.
Yes.
But there's always something to look for. And I was explaining to her, the Canadian government, they do a lot of things for Francophone and Dominica, just trying to like let her know like how you can benefit from it, as well as the indigenous community, and how you can get, but you need to be able to do not get things on indigenous people name and not incorporate them into it. You have to include them in it,
Of course.
not just from the proposal perspective, but from the implementation perspective. Because sometimes we put them in the proposals and they don't actually ever end up. It happens, and I know of times that it's happened, but we have to be very aware of that. And there's a lot of let me tell you, there's a lot of money outside.
No worry, we're going for it.
There's a lot of money. And I was just connecting her with two grant writers that I know, and I said, hey, you can speak to them and they can write your grant. They take a percentage of it, but they do all the work. They do all the work. You don't have to on your behalf. And just thinking about all of the different things, because I myself always looking for grants. The only thing is for film, the Canadian government, they toy it. They want you to bring down 90% of Canadians to film.
Whew.
So your
Yes.
crew must be 90% Canadian. I'm like, I don't want to use Canadians to film. They cannot see it. Or my local people see it. So that is always a setback. But a minor setback, it's just for film. It's for other projects. There's a lot more funding out there, for that you guys can explore. So we'll stay in touch. I'll keep you guys connected on all of that and more. But it was such a pleasure, Fiona. And finally, Chantal.
Hey.
Chantal, you were first, and I put you last.
Oh, well, thank you, first of all, for having us. It's been such a edifying conversation, you know. Dominica, for me, as a first timer, it exceeded my expectations. It really did. And, one of the highlights was receiving my Kalinago name.
You have a Kalinago name?
We all do. My Kalinago name is Bibiri, which is dragonfly, which is symbolic of change, right?
Wow.
Embracing change and bringing beauty and change into the world. And I'm like, oh, well, there we go.
Wow.
It's very special to me. I've spoken since I moved home to Nevis, and Fiona knows this. I've spoken to her many times about how I feel about the way our Indigenous people have been marginalized on most of the islands. And yeah, they have. And I find it very disrespectful. In a sense, I am an immigrant here, because my ancestors were brought here. They are not from here. And so there is a reverence and respect that I have for Indigenous people and voices. And since coming to Nevis, I've been on a few archival dates, and I was very fortunate, blessed on my first day to find a Zemi, and a Zemi is a spiritual symbol. It's a symbol of worship that was placed outside of the homes of the Indigenous people in Nevis that came to, that sailed over to Nevis. And so to then come to Dominica and receive my Kalinago name y'all, I can't even put into words how that has made me feel so much more whole as a child of the Caribbean. And Dominique has gifted me that. And so Dominica was somewhere magical to me even before I arrived and landed. You know, my mom had been to Dominica before and she'd come home as a child and told me about this beautiful place. The only thing she didn't like back then was the airport and landing at the airport because my mom was a great flyer. And so for her, she was like, "Oh my God, but London!" You know, that was her only bad memory of Dominica back then. And so, thank you, Dominica. Thank you for making this island girl feel totally in her island girlness, you know, totally Caribbean. You know, my indigenous people were the Arawaks. But for me, it's like, yo, I'm going to take it from wherever because we are all interconnected. So
Yes.
thank you for having us. I cannot wait to come back to Dominica. I am looking maybe in December for an art
Like
exhibition.
this, like next month?
Like next month,
Well,
maybe.
check me, check me, check me. Yes, I'll be there.
Wait.
Maybe.
Try and go Dominica without us.
I have a friend who's a filmmaker. She's of Dominican heritage, and she grew up between Dominica and London, and she's bringing her film to screen in Dominica. Marilyn Fontaine, she's an amazing artist, filmmaker, well-being and spiritual coach, and so she's screening. She made this wonderful film about the roller skating community in London. So she's screening it in her hometown of Dominica. Okay, in December.
Fiona not impressed with you, know. Fiona just like, look at her finger. Wait.
She's rebuking it. That's what she over there doing.
Sherwin, you see how your friends does roll?
Exactly. You see, we introduced her. We introduced her,
to
and now she's
Dominica.
moving
Now
on
she
her side
going
like a
behind
crab.
our
It's
backs.
okay.
But look how I have only been.
It's okay. She's moving on her side like a crab.
Home twice. Y'all have been a home twice and trying to take away my building of my relationship. You see how this is set up.
Yeah, so we introduce you to the vibe. Now you're going behind
You have
our
to
back.
bring us. Why don't we have a relatable life?
You can say
No, and here how we finding out there on big live.
I have to fly
big live
on Sunrise
every
Airways.
day. We speaking every day, but we're
Every day
here
we
on
speak.
this live for the whole world to hear for the first time with us that you're going to Dominica in December.
I didn't say. I said maybe. I said maybe.
It sounded like it planned already. We don't worry for. It sounded like it planned already. She could give you all the backstory and where the person going and what the person's doing. It's all well planned already. Don't worry for. And she gonna check me. We gonna drink a bush rum on all your head. We drink a ginger shot. We drink a ginger shot on all your behalf.
On our head, okay.
Woo! I'm having a hot
That's
night.
all his friends.
Okay, good night,
On
folks.
that note,
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure having you guys on. Bye-bye.
Love you all.
Thank you so much again. Bye.
Oh, guys, that was it for the Ladies of the Relatable podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a little bit longer than we're accustomed to, but you know, it was a group. So we have to be accommodated. I had so many more things I wanted to ask. They need to come back another time. We need to have a part 2, part 3, part 4, and part 5, of this. But it was a pleasure having them on here with me. And it was a pleasure for you, those of you who stuck on and those of you who will come back and view this again. I want to say thank you very much to you. And thank you very much for joining us. I so appreciate every single one of you for coming in and sharing with us. Some of you commented and some of you probably stayed in silence and will probably come back and share this and speak to somebody and share with somebody a little bit about what you learned today if it was new for you, or a little bit of what you probably something that they probably brought up and you were like, you had that aha moment, right? I want to say thank you to their producer, their manager, Brianna. Big up to you one time. Thank you very much for allowing this to happen. And I had fun, and I hope you all had fun as well. I want to say thank you very much to my sponsors, the National Cooperative Credit Union. I also want to say thank you very much to Caribe, the Dominican National Lottery, the Blast Mystery Progressive Game, and of course, Home Base Limited. When I coming back now? I don't know when I coming back. When I coming back? When I coming back? I don't even know. Big up to my producer, Samaj. Thank you very much, love. Thank you very much for all of the hard work that you do behind the scenes. My entire team, my graphics team, everybody, big up yourselves. Big up yourselves one time. And to you, those of you who viewed, much love. I'll be back sometime. If you subscribe and you follow, you know when I come back, right? The live team will just go live and I'll be on again. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Last Gaming presents its biggest job whatever. Blast Mystery Progressive. I'm so excited. I can't hide it. In your blast jackpot rising. And I like it. It going up and up and up and up and up. Blast up and up and up and up and up and up.
Play selected games to win in the Blast Mystery Progressive. Pick until you match 3 gems and win one of the 5 cash jackpots. Or you can blast up with the Mystery Progressive jackpot.
It going up and up and up and up and up. Blast up and up and up. Blast Gaming.
From the cradle to the grave, you don't have to be no slave. You need a loan you want to save. Welcome and visitors today. Hey, with a commitment to quality. Therefore you and me was one big family, but now it's a community. True, making life easy. Yes, like ABC. Don't matter who you are, you can benefit. When you bring your mortgage
With rates as low as 5% and loans for all your needs.
open an MRA,
Save for your golden years and take advantage of our savings products.
we will finance your business.
Checking accounts, small business loans, wire transfers, and so much more.
NCCU all the way. Wow!
Your community financial partner.
NCCU.
Hello, my name is Marlies Rock, founder of Home Base Limited. Better known these days as the Tile Lady in Dominica. We are tile importers from various countries such as Italy, Brazil, Mexico, and China. We've been in the market for the past 18 years, and we've grown to be the #1 tile company in Dominica. I'd love to get it across that it's not just buying a tile because that's the amount of money you have left from the building. Tiles are the things used most in the house, and it's an investment you're putting your money into that should last you hopefully no less than 20 years. Our staff are well trained. The length of time they've been working in home is some as much as 15 years. They have acquired knowledge which the ordinary person would not give an eye to, as to the texture of the tile, the warmth of the tile, the size of the tile, and the areas it's most suited for. Our main store is at 94 Independence Street, Roseau, and our warehouse is at Kinfley Industrial Site.
Caribe Hard Cider. Moments made extraordinary.